Welcome to Minecraft. Somewhere out there is Earth, but I'm not there. I'm stranded, alone, on a chunk of rock drifting through space. No tools, no resources, no way home. Yet, to survive, I'll need to build, automate, and conquer the void itself. And I'm doing it all in one video. This is Astropolis. We'll start by punching some asteroid blocks in order to get asteroid rocks. And while we do that, it would mean the world to me if you would consider subscribing. And if you do, I promise to keep bringing you top tier Minecraft movies for you to fall asleep to. We can turn 4 of these rocks into a block, which we'll use to craft a stone crafting table. 2 blocks will make 4 sticks, and after a little more harvesting we can make an asteroid pickaxe. Now we can break blocks a little bit quicker. We can also remove this door because it's kind of annoying me. With 1 stick and 6 blocks, we'll craft our first of many asteroid hammers. Now when we break asteroid blocks, we have a chance to get rocks, organic powder, water drops, and ice shards. The rocks we can turn into stone, ice shards turn into blocks of ice, and the organic powder turns into dirt. Now we're going to place that stone down so we can ultimine it into good old-fashioned cobblestone. Just checking, but you can also ultimine hammer the asteroid blocks. That's going to be handy for later on. Up next, let's use some of this organic powder on some asteroid blocks. That's going to transform it into planks. After all, there are no trees in space. We can use some planks to make some artificial sticks, which allows us to make a drying table. If we pop in some cobblestone, it's going to start to dry out into gravel. Then we can use some asteroid rocks and rocks to craft up a little andesite for the quest. That's not going to get confusing at all. It looks like we also need to craft up some bowls, and if we craft that with the 2 types of rock and some water, we will make asteroid stew, our first source of food. Nice! We'll craft some water drops and dirt together to make a block of clay, which we will then place down and break to get some clay balls. The first thing we'll use it for is to make an unfired clay bucket, since we're going to be needing that soon. Then with 8 more cobblestone we can make up the old reliable furnace. Currently, our only source of fuel is the asteroid rocks, which I was not expecting. We'll use the furnace to slowly start turning our clay into bricks. Real quick, we can smelt up one of our asteroid stews, as this will restore even more hunger. With 8 planks and 1 artificial stick, we can craft up a skystone chest, and with 3 of those plus some ice, we can make up a resource generator. I'm curious, if we take off our spacesuit, yep, we definitely start to suffocate, probably due to lack of oxygen poisoning. So this resource generator can and will slowly duplicate some blocks for us, but only some very specific blocks like stone or cobble. Oh, and I took the liberty of firing our bucket, which sounds a lot harsher than it is. But we can now start to turn our brick into bricks. Flint. Oh dear. Place the gravel, break the gravel, and repeat. We can craft 1 from 3 gravel, but that's kind of expensive right now. Finally, we can use those flints for making 8 energy pipes. Oh, and we need 2 more for the wrench. Such pain. Done. Nice. Oh goody, we need to make a block of flint, which is 9 flint. I was honestly not expecting a flint heavy early game. But now, let's surround our bucket with some water drops, and that's going to give us a bucket of water. A second bucket can be crafted with some bricks to make a flopper, a hopper for fluids. And it's fun to say. Flopper, 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 flopper. 1 resource generator, 5 resource generators. 1 for basalt, oh it doesn't work. 1 for deep slate, and 1 for blackstone, which also doesn't work. Basically, I was just testing out the blocks that the asteroid is made out of. The important ones right now is the cobblestone and asteroid blocks. We can now craft some organic powder and sticks into an oak sapling, but since we're in space, we cannot really plant it anywhere. Instead, we'll need to use garden closures for all of our gardening needs. They require power, so we'll craft up a thermoelectric generator. On one side, we need a cold block. On the opposite side, we need a hot block, packed ice, and a block of flint. From my estimates, this should be enough to maybe run 1 or 2 garden closures. Inside we'll need the dirt and the sapling, and all that's left is water. Maybe this is why we need a flopper, since we can't exactly use a bucket to fill it up. Logs and leaves, my two favorite things to see. And if we put a chest on the front of it, it's gonna auto output. So if we craft a skystone tank, we can pop this onto the flopper and then just fill it up for so much watering. This glass is so incredibly annoying. It can't decide what it wants to look like, so it changes. Very distracting. I don't think this glass is gonna survive here much longer. We now have resource generated 2s, which are like the ones except they can auto-export to an inventory below. We can technically also speed them up, but there's not really much need to right now. Now, if we put logs into a smoker, we will get ash. We then need to smelt that ash down to get ash bricks. We'll need those to craft up some coke bricks, because next we're diving headfirst into Immersive Engineering. Boop! That's the coke oven. Inside we can pop in some oak logs, and in return we will get some charcoal, but more importantly creosote oil. We can extract that oil using buckets, and if we surround it with some oak planks, we will get treated wooden planks. We can use the treated wood to craft up an engineer's workbench, which for now can live over here until we need it. I can't believe we're still needing so much flint. It's a little crazy if you ask me. At least we're at the point now where we can just craft it. 27 blast bricks later and we have got the blast furnace. If we throw in some asteroid blocks, we will get 1 copper nugget each, and andesite will blast into tin nuggets. While we wait for that, let's craft up some item pipes, and now we can finally extract from those tier 1 resource generators. Nice! We can now also automate the drying table so we always have some gravel in stock for making flint. So of course, 9 nuggets will turn into an ingot, so that's the tin, and that's the copper ingot. With some sandstone and bricks, we can make and place down an alloy kiln. We can then alloy together 3 copper and 1 tin ingot to make 4 bronze ingots. And yes, you're right in thinking that is very copper expensive. We will turn those 4 bronze into miner's research packs. That pack with 8 stone will give us 5 bright stone, which when smelted would give us a bright shard. We need 8 bright shards to make a cluster template, but first we'll make a block of budding copper. While technically we can place these down in the world and they'll grow like amethyst, we're gonna wanna automate these in the garden cloche. That's gonna need some more bright shards, and that means it's time to AFK for a little bit. I'll see you soon once I've crafted up the other budding clusters we need. Amethyst, tin, copper, and coal. They are very slow, so likely in the future we're going to want maybe 4 or 6 of each resource? We'll see. We've got a few more cloches down here, this time growing industrial hemp fiber, so we can make string amongst other things. The buds generate clusters, which we then need to place down and break them into shards, where 3 shards will then make their resource like coal. Up next, we'll use some bronze and some coal to make some metal bars. They'll go into the blast furnace and will slowly turn into an iron nugget. A somewhat expensive craft, turning 3 bronze into 6 iron nuggets. Now thankfully we can use amethyst shards in order to make cluster templates instead of using bright shards. And since we need so much coal right now, I've made a second budding coal. More metal bars because we need so many more iron nuggets. More copper, more tin, more bronze. 4 iron ingots, and that's enough to make a block of budding iron, which now means that we have a very slow but very steady supply of iron ingots. And by the way, it has been hours and this budding copper still hasn't fully grown. Yikes. Combining organic powder with hemp seeds gives us organic powder seed blocks, and when broken with a hoe will grant us other types of seeds. Organic powder and string gives us organic powder fungus block, which you guessed it, is going to give us mushrooms. Sticks plus hemp fiber gives us tough fabric, which can be crafted into fake leather. That's now given us the ability to make backpacks, which I'll sort out shortly. Looking at the quest, it is so close to being time to dive into immersive engineering machines. Oh, and we can also now make fluid pipes, which is kind of handy for the garden cloches. We just need a way now to automate water, and this setup would play by itself. For every quest we complete, we get 1 bee-buck. And since we have a stack now, we are going to buy the time in a bottle. For those uninitiated, we'll use this later to speed up machines by spending the time that we have stored inside of it. This will now live inside our inventory until endgame, generating time for us to tick accelerate. It's great because I do tend to AFK a lot, and now that time is not going to be wasted at all. Like now, since we kind of need to generate a bit more resources. I'll see you soon. Well, 10 hours later, and yeah, whoopsies. Heading downstairs, you'll see that I've been working on clearing out some of the asteroid to give us some space. In space. While away, we have been generating a ton of iron, some of which was sent through the blast furnace to make steel ingots. As for automated water, there is quite literally a water source item, and it's not too difficult to make. It did need a machinist core which was gated behind steel, and we're going to need quite a lot of these cores going forward. So make sure to keep the blast furnace fully stocked up with iron. It sounds crazy, but we're going to go straight in with making a full stack of machinist cores. Just to prove how serious I am. They are needed to make both iron and steel mechanical components from Immersive Engineering. Speaking of Immersive Engineering, let's make a start by crafting up some conveyor belts. Bear with me while I quickly magic wand up some more copper real quick. Yeah, the wand makes this really easy. And using an iron pickaxe will give us more shards per cluster than using an asteroid tool. It's kinda like fortune, I guess. We can now craft up the iron mechanical components, which we'll use to make some light engineering blocks. Okay, even pistons need those machinist cores? That's 4 steel per piston. That's a bit excessive. Let's make up a basic energy cube, since it's a great idea to store the power that we're not using, ready for when we inevitably need it. Up next, it's steel mechanical components, steel scaffolding, and some heavy engineering blocks. When placed down like this, we can hammer them into a metal press. 8 steel ingots gives us the plate mold, which we can now start to make iron and steel plates. Yay! Let's see about some more machines, shall we? We'll start with a sawmill, used for making a little bit of sawdust and more efficient for planks, I guess. Up next, we've got the crusher, which we can use for even more shards from our clusters. Then it's the squeezer for the coke dust nonsense. Finishing off with the arc furnace, the big boy. And we're back. And I've made a couple of small changes. I have bought the Quack Quack beating upgrade. It was $8, but it is super worth it. While here, I do want to buy the gravity generator to see how much power it generates. First though, let's walk through our next bit of progression. Into the coke oven, we are hoppering in some coal to get turned into coal coke. This coal coke will then get thrown into the crusher. That's going to give us coke dust. That coke dust needs to head into the squeezer, where we're then given hop graphite dust in return. That's then smelted down, and 4 of these can be crafted into a graphite electrode. You will need the blueprint, and for the blue dye we can make it from water, and the paper we get from the sawdust, which does come from the sawmill. You can love the mod or hate the mod. You have to admit though that Immersive Engineering really does have some cool animations. Alrighty, so into the arc furnace we're going to throw in some treated wooden planks and some coal coke. They're going to melt down into industrial wooden planks, which we're going to need in a bit, I think. Okay, let's check out this gravity generator. 30 RF per tick. Yeah, that's not worth the $40. Up next, we're going to pop some steel ingots and coke dust into the arc furnace. Such cool animations. That's given us a spacesuit upgrade, and it looks like we're gonna need quite a few of these. The main thing we are after is the mining belt portal frames, of which we're gonna need 10. We're also gonna need the structure compass too apparently, and the space core. Now we just need to build another portal shaped frame out of the mining belt frame, and we can activate it using that space core from earlier. Absolutely remember to mute the portal sounds. The final thing we're gonna need is the super home stone, which unfortunately can just take us back to the asteroid. Not actual home, which is Earth. Shift right click it in your offhand to set home, then a simple right click takes us there. Nice. We're about to unlock our next set of budding blocks, like redstone. So without any further ado, let's head on through to the mining belt. One thing I don't think I've mentioned yet is we are in space with low gravity. There is no fall damage. It's weird, but lovely. Mixed stone ore. I'm not really sure if this one's going to be useful. Let's drop down to the next asteroid, which is deep slate silver. Nice. Ooh, and there's straight up some blocks of silver inside. That is That's pretty much enough to make some silver budding blocks already. Another interesting mod is we have the Forgiving Void mod. So once we reach the bottom of the world, we spawn back in at world height. This allows us to travel between asteroids in the most hobble way possible. This one is deep slate lead ore and some lead blocks inside. You love to see it. Gold plus gold blocks, nether quartz and quartz blocks, which can be turned back into quartz. Nice, you get the idea. Let me go and grab the other ores and we'll meet back here in just a moment. Okay, I'll be honest. Once I got home, I kinda got distracted and just removed the whole top part of this asteroid, including that annoying glass. Now we are gonna have so much more room for activities. You can also see that I have expanded the meme of thermogenerators, because I deny Mekanism power generation. Behind me, you'll see that I have added a heap more garden closures for all of our new budding blocks, and they are now automatically being pumped into a new crusher. The shards are then spat out into this draw network, and the next step would be to autocraft these into their resource. If you're curious, this is how many items you get for breaking the top of the asteroid. The magnet upgrade is awesome. The next most annoying thing is that we have got chests and items literally spread out everywhere. We need digital storage. Thankfully, that seems to be coming up real soon. Starting with Electrum, which is just silver and gold in the alloy kiln. We'll send half into the crusher to make dust, and we'll use some ingots to make a charger. Blonk. Inside here, we need to pop in a redstone block. That's going to charge up into glowstone. And I think it's probably worth setting up the budding glowstone sooner rather than later. For now though, we're going to old-fashion this so we can progress together. Charging up some sand, we'll get our first piece of silicon. And of course, hoppers will make this much easier. Using a second charger, we can charge up some glowstone and turn it into Certus quartz dust. We can pop that into the arc furnace to make regular old Certus quartz. Those are then of course charged to make charged Certus quartz. Now into the arc furnace, we'll put in some charged Certus, redstone, electrum grit, glowstone dust and Certus dust. That is everything we need for some Flux dust. Not a fun recipe to do. There's a better one later, so that's something I guess. Now that Flux dust has got to go back through the arc furnace to get us the Flux crystals. 4 of those gives us a Flux block, which is now everything we need to make an inscriber. Blonk. Really? Obsidian is made from Flux blocks. That is a bit excessive. Charging up 1 block of Flux does give us the mysterious cube, which when broken gives us the inscriber presses. Next, I think I'd like to make a budding Certus block, but we must submerge items in water. If we place down water in space, it dissipates. However, if we shrink ourselves down inside of this machine, we are technically inside a block and we can place down water. Inside here, we'll throw in a charged Certus quartz and a Certus block. In return, we'll get a damaged budding Certus quartz. That goes back in with another charged, and so on and so forth until we get a flawless one. I'm sure it's usually more painful than that, but this does seem to have a 100% success chance, at least in this mod pack. So I went ahead and made the budding glowstone, and now we've got budding Certus. We just need to make sure that we have at least 4 of each running, at a minimum. Now I think it is time that we start crafting these shards into their final item form. For that, we are going to be using the RF Tools Crafter, likely a tier 3, we'll see. We just teach it the recipe, give it some power, and pipe that item in. That is automated redstone. We just need a place to send it to, and probably some pipe upgrades to speed up the transfers. Let me see what I can hobble together. Here's what I hobble together. A tier 3 crafter has got 8 crafting slots, that means 8 shard recipes. So all we do is split our current shards between 2 crafters, and jobs are good un. Everything is sent to a storage controller, which is linked to a bunch of compacting drawers. I'm kind of hoping that Endgame isn't a pointless grind, and we don't need to make more closures. So using drawers, I have set up a cheeky little bit of automation for the inscriber. We combine electrum grit, charged quartz and redstone to make the Flux crystals. This works because each of these drawers is either pushing or pulling, because this is old Applied Energistics 2 without the quality of life patch. And using the same principle, I have done the same thing to automate each of these circuits we need. Just make a note of which side each item needs to be pushed from. So let's take some printed circuits and send them through one more inscriber with some redstone and printed silicon. this is gonna take some time, so we're gonna come back to this later. Well, soon actually, because I really want digital storage. For now, we can collect some obsidian, which was Flux blocks in the arc furnace, and we need to send it back through again with some gold. That gives us obsidian infused gold, which we will use to craft up some armor cores. That's gonna let us make a set of guardian armor and a pair of rocket boots. Very carefully, we can now exchange our beginner spacesuit for the new upgraded version, and we now have some decent flight, made better by the fact that we take no fall damage. And we look pretty dapper. Okay, so it is time for a chunk of micro crafting, so I can try and set up a simple digital storage. I'll see you soon. No auto crafting, just storage. Exactly what the doctor ordered. Now being able to craft from everything we own is fantastic. And with that side tangent sorted, it is time for us to find a way to get to Venus. I do see that there is ender pearls and blaze rods, so I have crafted up a sword and shield since I am assuming that Venus is kind of hostile. So let's see if we can't craft up some Venus portal frames. It does use the mining belt frames to craft, but they really weren't that difficult to make. So same again, 10 block portal, and light it with the space core. Quickly make a safe spot by the portal, and yep, this place is very hostile. Maybe we should dig straight down for now. And making sure the magnet is enabled on the spear backpack, I think we are ready to dig. Mining tunnel from the Ultra Mine makes this so much easier. We have found some blackstone uranium ore. Nice and easy. That's some debris ore, which I'm guessing will turn into ancient debris. That's osmium ore, a blaze. We're on fire now. Emerald ore, an enderman, and finally diamond ore. All that's left to do now is turn each of them into a budding block and get them set up in some cloches, and of course into the crusher. What's awkward is we need gold dust to make the netherite dust, which is then smelted into netherite ingot. That's a weird little crafting change. And now, it is time for some basic mechanism. And of course, it's exactly the same as it always is. How lovely and repetitive. The cloches are in, buds are clustering, and shard crafted into items. And now using some netherite ingots, we can craft up some steel casing. The first machine is a metallurgic infuser, and you know what? A second metallurgic infuser, Blanc. The first one is going to be for redstone and osmium, and the very most important thing about Mekanism is to remember to mute the machines. That's basic control circuits. I doubt we're going to set up automation for any of this. Blanc. Machine number 2 is for redstone and iron. That's for infused alloy. As most of you know, I am no longer a huge fan of explaining Mekanism. It is the same processes in every mod pack. So I'm kinda gonna skip through this a little bit, just to get to those ultimate control circuits and atomic alloy. No hate to Mekanism though, it is a really cool mod. It's just always the same. Crushed diamonds to use them as an infusing item, so we can upgrade some infused alloy into reinforced alloy. We'll use those to craft a few elite control circuits. For ultimate ones we're gonna need a lot more obsidian. That means more flux blocks into the arc furnace. There has gotta be a better way. For now, it is done. If we need more, I cry. Atomic alloy, complete but slow, and only slightly automated withdrawals. The quest is to make quantum entangler porters. I've made one and we need one more. A little micro crafting and that is number 2. We'll need those for crafting the portal frames that's gonna take us to the moon. Unfortunately, that does need more Venus portal frames, which need red sandstone. So let's disable the crafting of redstone so we can back up on shards once again. Let's spend a little time to make this nice and quick. 32 is the max right now before power starts to drain. Now we're just waiting on the crusher queue, which we really can't do anything about. And of course we need more sand. So into the other crusher with some gravel. I don't know why, I'm always so surprised when we run out of basic resources. We're stranded in space, on a tiny little asteroid. It's amazing that we made it as far as we have. That's the Venus portal frames, and that's 10 moon portal frames. Space core, activate. Moon? Why are we underground and suffocating? I don't even have a shovel. This is so unexpected. Freedom! Well, it looks pretty passive. That's good. Ooh, a goodie hut. Let's investigate. What started as being stranded on an asteroid with nothing but a dream in our pockets has led us quite literally to being on the moon. Sometimes you just persevere. Today might not be a good day, but all we really need to do is try and make it to tomorrow. It's empty. How about an attic? An alien artifact. Do we need this? Ore remover. Oh, we are gonna need a lot more of these for 100%. That's because we need to make every item from the Never Ender Ore mod. So much fun. But now we dig, because we need to farm some moon cheese. And when we break blackstone, it's also going to drop the occasional prismarine shard, which we also need. Cheese ore. Sounds delicious. Don't judge me. I have been eating asteroid stew ever since we got here. Oh, that reminds me, we can craft potatoes from melon seeds, so we could have baked potatoes for food instead. Silly me. Well, next we're going to be moving on to the Never Ender Ore. It's going to require a lot of dimensional shard, which has a fairly grindy crafting recipe. And we're going to need 8 per infused ender pearl. Thinking about it, we're also going to need a ton of ender pearls. There is 17 of these ores to make, each needing 2 infused pearls and 1 alien artifact. Plus, if we want to harvest any of the ores, we need the ore extractor, which is 1 artifact, and 2 ore removers, which each cost an artifact. They are craftable, but not until endgame. So I guess it's back off to the moon for the artifact and Venus for the ender pearls. Let's do this. I think out of the whole mod pack so far, this is likely the most tedious part of the whole experience. While it looks fantastic in the replay mod, with the fancy camera angles and the speed boosts, why don't we watch this in real time and you'll see why it's tedious. We move so dang slow, and there is no way to access any kind of speed boost. We're just speed 1, and that's it. But we persevere. Now things get spicy, where I try to aggro as many endermen as I can without landing on the ground, while also trying to avoid the fireballs from the blaze. And then it's into the hidey hole, and just kinda cheese it from here where we can attack them without retaliation. It's a risky task, but it's gotta be done. Now back on the asteroid, I think it's time for a mini adventure. It was only when I opened the map by accident that I see that we're not alone out here. There's more asteroids. The most exciting part of this is there's an abundance of clay. Clay turns into bricks, which we always seem to need a lot of. I guess because we're gonna need a lot of power coming up soon, and I have no intention of breaking free from the meme of power generation. Here's a useful fact for you. Remember the sawmill that we made so long ago? If we put through some asteroid blocks, we get all of the same goodies that we got at the beginning. It's useful to know because we are going to need a lot of dirt for endgame, which is quite surprising. 18 dirt per overworld core, 61 cores for every 2 space portal frames. And of course the ice shards are useful for power generation. Now let me see if I can expand this even more. Well, it turns out uranium blocks are a lot hotter than flint. That's really good to know. And I've installed an energy meter and we are generating just shy of 3000 RF per tick. Honestly, that's tiny amounts of power in the grand scheme of things. But we have a full ultimate energy cube, so any big power burst use that stored energy. So moving on, how many dimensional shards can we make? Just over 4 stacks. I don't think that's gonna be close to enough. We'll need 17 Never Ender Ore bases, and now we're out of artifacts to make the ore excavator. Sad times. 9 more. Please tell me this is enough. That is the ore extractor. Quest complete. Do you need power? You do need power. Now we need the infused ender pearls. 2 stacks. Oh dear. It's enough to make the Never Ender Coal ore. Quest complete. And now everything else is an optional challenge. But you know how it is by now. It'll be done. So do you go above the extractor? No, it goes below. That's given us raw coal, the only resource that we actually need from this mod. So let's convince it to work just a little bit faster. The reason we need so many is we're going to need to make black iron ingots, of which we are going to need a lot. We gotta send those ingots through the metal press in order to make black iron slate. And now we must work our way up through the crafting tables, thankfully only to advanced for now. We'll need to make a crafting core, and oh so many pedestals. One for every type of shard, and one for every type of ingot if we don't want to reuse the same setup. Also gems, but that one's not so bad. While we wait for the black iron slate, I'm gonna build us a little platform for us to build the crafters onto. I'll see you soon. Well, I have no idea if they're within range, but it does look really cool. It does also need some power, and instead of running some cables over, I think we should finally do the Flux Networks quest. We'll need Flux cores, which is very expensive on the obsidian cost. We'll need a Flux block to make the Flux plug, and a redstone block to make the Flux point. We only need to make one of each though, because once crafted, we can simply just buy more. I wasn't supposed to buy more plugs. Silly me. Plug goes onto power source, create a network. Point goes on to what needs power, connects to that network. Wireless power, easy peasy. 5 million FE storage, are you mad? So to keep things simple, we are going to add a hopper on top of each of these pedestals so we can load more than one item at a time onto it. Oh, that's mean. Refined obsidian ingots. Why must you Mekanism us? An electrum? Yo! For now we can load the ingots that we do have, and then I kinda need to make some more obsidian. I'll see you in a few years. Well, I've had a stressful time. Wanna know why? The ingot of ingots, it doesn't use lead. I couldn't for the life of me work out why it wasn't crafting. It took me far longer than I'm willing to admit. I don't want to talk about it. But instead, it uses refined obsidian, refined glowstone, electrum, and constantan ingots. But never lead. I don't understand why. So we can push some black iron ingots onto the crafting core and... oh, what's gone wrong now? Why is there black iron in here? And here? What is happening? Oh, yay, it's crafting. And it is absolutely chewing through hours of grind, combining all of those resources into a single ingot. While we're here, I have also set up the crafter for the shards, this time using 20 pedestals. If we load in the ice shards, off it goes. We'll use 8 ingots of ingots to make a quantum compressor. Blonk! 10 million RF storage. What is with this mod and the power storage? It's insane! We'll use this to convert some moon portal frames into Mars portal frames. So we're going to need some more moon frames since we still need access to the moon. Thankfully, I saw this quest was coming and I made some more earlier. And thankfully, it is a 1-to-1 recipe. You know the drill by now. Space core goes boop. We are on the lookout for rubies and sapphires, the final piece of the Gem of Gems craft. What no? Prismarine crystals? Oh, we're gonna need some more prismarine shards. For now, let us head to Mars. Ooh, what's in that building? Early game loot. I don't understand that, but I guess it's fine. We are here to explore the red planet in search for hidden gems. And it turns out we get them randomly from mining the red sandstone, including prismarine crystals, so that is very good news. I guess it is ultimine mining time. Yippee! Never ender ruby ore, and finally craftable alien artifacts. But now we are out of infused ender pills. And that is it for dimensional shards because we're out of prismarine crystals. So it is back to the moon again. That is more dimensional shards and more infused ender pills. And finally we have the never ender sapphire ore. I guess I should set up some excavators for these as well because next we're going to need to craft the gem of gems. I'll see you soon. My friends, are you ready for one big final push into endgame content so we can finally head home to planet Earth? I couldn't work out pretty spacing, so this is gonna do. Load in some nether quartz and away the crafter goes. Gem of gems achieved. Next we're going to need an elite crafting table, and now we must get together some resources to make the space cores. So that's lots of dirt which we can combine with 8 leaves to make grass, the gem of gems, ingot of ingots, and shards of shards too. And I'm a fool because it does need the ultimate crafting table, and now we have enough resources on us right now to make 4 space cores. Oh dearie me. And we're gonna need like 300 of them. Oh dear. I need to make a plan because right now I'm feeling a little bit overwhelmed. I'll see you in a little bit with some fresh eyes on this big problem. we are gonna need a ton of obsidian. So we are at the bottom of the world on Venus, and we've got the entropy manipulator being wirelessly charged from home. Shift right click the lava and we have got instant obsidian. There is no way anyone should be doing that intended recipe. It is far too much. Instead, we convert and ultimine. It's incredible. And now we wait for enrichment. Fun! Oh, and more of everything of course means that we need more prismarine shards. So many pickaxes were harmed in the making of this video. Thoughts and prayers in the comments. Then it was time to gather the materials one by one and load them into barrels for crafting. It should be automated, but we are so deep into this now that we're just gonna persevere. It's enough to drive a little old hobble mad. But with enough perseverance, the crafts are finally happening. But of course, we also need the gem of gems and shards of shards, so we must push on. I'm gonna be honest with you, that sucked. If you're copying me, use barrels so you can move full inventories at once, but don't copy me. There are better options out there, I am sure of it. I am praying that this is gonna be enough for the final craft. Oh no, oh no. 6 portal frames. We need 2 more crafts worth of cores. Send help. This is it. I promise. The biggest bottleneck, surprisingly, is the fact that grass needs 8 leaves. Leaves are a bottleneck. Madness, I tell you. Wanna know what else I forgot to do? I never ended up making 4 of each of our original budding blocks. Yeah, that was a massive oversight on my part. Another issue is, while you're saving up your shards, you're not actively generating any resources, so they run out pretty fast. But that, my friends, is 10 space portal frames. You know the drill. Build a portal, and the space core goes boop. Before we leave, I have been thinking about this setup, and one way that you could do this easier is by using XNet. You just need to set up the channel filters once, and then it just does the work for you forever. And honestly, XNet is super affordable. Just some food for thought for you so we can leave this place on a positive note. But now, it is finally time to return home. This place has been a nice and quick distraction from the everyday grind, and it has been a welcome break. It took me just under 2 weeks, but you're either going to need a server or you're going to need to leave your PC on, because you kind of need to generate resources while you're away. This, my friends, is a 100% playthrough of Astropolis. There is just one quest left to finish, and that is to return home. I want to thank you so much for spending this time with me today, and I will see you in the next adventure.